If you really have good, pure intention and you follow your heart, the universe will take care of you.
Do you want to make an impact and be a female leader leading from your own values? If this question triggers a yes, you are at the right place listening to the right podcast. My name is Caroline Glasbergen, and every week I interview a female leader and experts to find out what it means to make an impact while remaining true to yourself. You will hear about barriers that have been overcome and many personal experiences and insights on how to lead authentically. Welcome to the New Female Leaders Podcast, the podcast on authentic female leadership. Yes, welcome to a new episode of the New Female Leaders Podcast. My name is Caroline and I'm the founder of New Female Leaders and I'm your host today. And today, this special episode is about something really cool. We are talking today about community building. And in this special episode, I'm interviewing the co-owner of the podcast studio where most of the New Female Leaders episodes of season 3 have been recorded. I'm speaking today with Philippa Lazari, and Philippa is a former corporate senior engineer who turned into a successful DJ and electronic music producer, and now has turned into a creative community builder. So, when I met Philippa for the first time, I felt immediately that I wanted to share her story with you. And even though this is an expert podcast about community building, this podcast contains so many valuable insights talking about authentic leadership and staying true to yourself that, basically, Philippa is both an expert and a role model, I would say. So, we talk about things like how to face your biggest obstacle, which is basically yourself, how to integrate your feminine and masculine traits, how to follow your heart, and how to honor your ancestral female lineage. We also talk, of course, about community building of like-minded people and how to stay true to yourself in a community setting, especially when you build that community together with your partner. I'm super excited to share this episode with you all. And before we start, I have a few practicalities. This Friday, we have another amazing episode with role model Steffi de Paus. So don't forget to listen to this one, as her story about how she started Because We Carry, a nonprofit on the Greek island Lesbos, is a remarkable story. And next week, so next Wednesday, is our final episode of this third season. And this will be a very special episode with Marlies Dekkers, who I've interviewed before. And she will now interview me. So it will be the other way around. And we have already received lots of questions from you all. And I will be answering them. And of course, we will be talking about my personal vision on authentic leadership, the New Female Leaders book, and our plans for the upcoming months. So don't miss this episode next Wednesday. All right. You can find the show notes of this episode on our website, newfemaleleaders.org. And when you're there, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter if you don't want to miss an episode anymore and you want to receive the latest news of New Female Leaders. All right, without further ado, I wish you an amazing and insightful podcast with Philippa. Hey, Philippa, welcome to the New Female Leader Show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So, this is actually a very special episode because I told you the last couple of episodes have all been online. And we're actually sitting here live in the studio.
Yeah, true.
And we're sitting in the studio that I have where I recorded basically all the podcasts of the last couple of weeks. And Yeah, you are the owner of the studio. So when we had a chat at the beginning, I felt like, wow, this is an amazing story. I really want to interview. I really would like to interview you. So I'm really glad that it finally happens, and very curious about your story because it's a very special one, from corporate to DJ to community builder, I would say. So, but let's start at the beginning. You came from a background of ballet and violin music. You studied from your 6th to your 16th at the Lisbon Conservatory, and then you decided to study electronic engineering and computer science at the Lisbon Technical Institute. Well, to me, that seems like two completely different worlds. So, what inspired you to pursue this new step?
Well, basically, I always loved the music and the arts, and until a certain age, around 16, you can combine all of it. You can do your school and you can do your after school activities, and but it gets to this point that you have to make a decision, and what what I'm going to do in life,
Right.
and how I'm going to sustain myself.
Right.
And also, of course, my family, influence from my family, because even my grandfather was already an engineer, electronic engineer, and my brother also. So it kind of, you have this family influence that um, put me into this path. And actually, I really enjoyed also the technical side. So I'm a very technical person, and so I thought, oh, this is brilliant. I can study and have a good life and not have problems.
Along the way. Hey, and just for my understanding, is engineering a typical study for women in Portugal?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I was like in my class, let's say my year, there were maybe around 100 students, and I would say 10% would be women, if so many.
Right.
It was a very, very small number of women. It was mostly men. And yeah.
And how did you experience this? I mean, how was that to like be like one of the few women in class? Was it an issue or?
Well, not really. You know, in the technical university, you know, the people are what do you call nerds? You know, nerds.
Right.
And nerds are nerds, boys or girls, they are nerds, they're a bit the same. And I was a bit of a nerd, although I didn't fully integrate I had my own alternative life outside of the university that I kept apart, let's say. But university for me was basically a tool to get me to where I wanted to be. But I was not really enjoying, you know, with my colleagues.
Right. And have you always been like a bit more like the one of the guys girl, or because the ballet and the violin seems to be more like feminine trait, or at least there are not so many guys who are doing ballet.
Yeah.
So you were literally moving from one side of the spectrum to the other side.
Yeah, it's true. I never thought about it like that, but I was always a bit what they say, the Tommy girl, Tommy boy, how do you say it? So maybe because I have a brother, only one brother, and older brother, so you kind of aspire to be like your older brother. And I always liked, you know, doing boy stuff, like driving the cars and doing this kind of things. It was always, I had always passion for this. And but the ballet also, I was also passionate for ballet and music and dancing. So I guess I have both sides. And at certain times I develop more one side, and other times more the other side, I guess.
Right. And what was the influence of your parents?
Well, my parents were always like, I guess, like all parents, they just wanted me to be secure in my life and not struggle in any way. So they say this. They kind of told me or advised me like this. This would be the best for you
Right.
in terms of security,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
you'll be safe
Mm-hmm.
and don't have to worry about anything. So that that was their main influence. But also by on the other side, my father always pushed me to face my own fears. He was very like adventurous, and he would take us to situations where I was afraid, and you would make me face it. So
Right.
I think this also is part of that's part of the influence that became my life journey.
Right. And can you give an example of one of those situation where he pushed you and you were like, "Oh my God."
And as a child, I was not very brave. I was like just a little girl, and I was, for example, afraid of the sea.
Right.
And in Portugal, the sea is very rough, also. So, and I was just little, and I didn't want to go, and I was afraid of it. And my father would stay with me and would make me go every day, until I was like super comfortable with it, you know.
Right.
But because he pushed me into it. Otherwise, I would probably never go.
Right, right, right. Hey, but so I guess that kind of helped as well when you started your international career because you came to the Netherlands,
Mhm.
and there you worked as a senior system engineer for Celtel, and you've just explained to me that's kind of the Vodafone of Africa. So, can you share with us what it was like to work in this field as a woman?
Yeah, it was a bit continuation of the university situation. So
Right.
it was I was often the only woman in the department that I was working with. Um, but I was very comfortable, I have to say, working with men. For me, it was easy. I think maybe even easier than women. They're more easygoing, and uh, because I was the only woman, I was also treated specially. Uh, they were very nice to me. Um, of course, there was also situations where I felt I was not really being taken seriously
Mm-hmm.
because I was a woman. Uh, so I felt both the privilege and also the opposite.
Right. And do you have the feeling that this has changed a bit, or when you look at the industry now?
Well, I'm not sure that in the engineering industry it has changed much. But to be honest, I'm not in touch much with that side anymore.
No, no, and we've talked with a lot of women who work in tech for this podcast as well, and basically, what I hear is that the number of women in working in this kind of field is still, yeah, it's still so low, and like you're explaining, very often they feel like they're not taken seriously. They paid less, um, and there's also this thing around be like one woman in a team, or perhaps let's say two or three women at a team, because it can even create a kind of a competition between the women. Have you ever experienced that, or were you always the only one?
No, I had also female colleagues, but I cannot say we had competition. It's very small teams normally where I worked with,
Right.
and we always created kind of friendship with the team because we work all together in the same issues, and we help each other solving problems. And I don't think there was really competition.
And weren't you missing any like role models, or wasn't that an issue for you?
Yeah, I mean, in the managing, the higher positions, it was mostly, or I would say only men.
Right.
So of course you feel like, oh, there's no place for you to grow, because the next levels are all occupied by men, and it's difficult, you
Right.
see, for women to maybe occupy those positions. So yeah, I didn't have any role models, and maybe that's why also I got disinterested of pursuing this career, because there was no, I didn't see a place for me.
Right. And yeah, because you were very active besides your work, and there the love of music, or the love for electronic music, started, right?
Yeah, this happened when I moved to Amsterdam
Yeah.
in 2006, and at the beginning I had a bit of difficulty integrating, but soon after I was like meeting all kinds of sorts of people, different people, not the corporate people, and I got to know this new kind of music. For me, it was new. I didn't listen to this, and yeah, I started to love it, and just this was really strong influence. The Amsterdam lifestyle and spirit, free spirit lifestyle, and the cosmopolitan was totally different from Lisbon. At Lisbon now maybe it's different, but when I was there, it was very, you wouldn't meet foreign people.
No.
It would be like very one kind of people. So it was like it really opened my perspective. Amsterdam, I have to say, completely changed my life.
Really?
Yeah.
And so can you tell a bit more about that? Can you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, it was basically meeting different people that had lived different lives to mine. They were not corporate, and they were fine, and they were actually
They were
more
still alive.
they were more happy, and they had more free time, and so all of this was very inspiring for me, and I started to kind of crave that lifestyle, and that Amsterdam made me start evaluating my life, and is it really this what I want to do, or is it maybe I want to do something else, and I'm just not doing what I want to do. This started very very soon, as soon as I arrived there, and because I met people, and they were organizing parties, and I started organizing parties with them. So I got involved hands on this other world, and this was my weekends. So I had like two lives. I had the week life on the corporate side, and then I had the weekend life where I was organizing parties and doing completely different things.
And how did you feel living these two lives at the same time?
Oh, that was very hard for me. I had, I had, I had to keep it apart. I couldn't let the office people know what was happening during the weekend. It was kind of, for me, not possible, because you just get this, how do you say, people, what they're gonna think of me, or so I didn't want to tell anybody what was happening. So I had kind of a secret life. So I had the office life, and then I had my secret life. But of course, these things are difficult to keep, especially now with the social media and everything. It's very hard to. So I was keeping lists of on Facebook of, if you tagged in one picture, who can see. I mean, it was really hard job to keep all these things separated. And that's when I started to see that something was not right in my life, that I had to live two different lives, and I started to feel this is not right. I have to do something about this.
And in hindsight, do you feel your fears were valid?
Well, I think so. I think in this corporate world there is a lot of judgment, and people, they are looking. I just think they are more judgmental, and they would probably, my boss probably wouldn't like to know that, I was up all night in some party somewhere, and
Right.
I just think it's not, it's not appropriate
Right.
somehow.
And I can also imagine that on the one hand you had your parents, whispering in your ear that this corporate route was the best route and the most secure route, and then you experienced all this freedom and music and your second life. So how did you find your own voice in this?
Well, this yeah, that's when I started. I mean, it was a gradual process, but
Right.
I started to realize that I had to unify my life in one. I could not have two lives and be kind of hiding myself, because if this is what I wanted to do, then I had just have to do it, and I cannot hide it. And this is when I also started DJing and decided to study music again, electronic music production, and then I actually finally I opened up to my colleagues and my boss, and in the end everybody knew that I was DJing on the weekends, because I decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So it was a transition, but I was okay to open then, because I was not like aspiring to go up the ladder of the corporation anymore. So I could just tell them like, look, this is what I'm doing, and they actually loved it. They always wanted to ask me in Monday morning, so how was your weekend? And they wanted to hear all the stories.
Yeah, because they had boring
Yeah.
weekends, right?
But and then then came, that's when I also changed my name and changed it's symbolic also, like, okay, this is my new name and this is my new life. And now I deleted all the lists of my Facebook and I post all the pictures, and I am one person. And it was very gratifying to finally be one again and don't have to hide
Wow, you really
anymore.
broke free.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Like Freddie Mercury. Yeah, sounds really like that. I can imagine that this wasn't like you're saying that this was really a journey, right? This wasn't all at once that you decided, okay, I'm gonna open up. Like what were like the obstacles like that you had to face?
Well, of course, the biggest obstacle is always your internal fear. If this fear of not, being ridiculous, or not having enough money, not being able to survive, all these questions, and this is the major obstacle. It's yourself, basically. You put your own limits. That's the reality. Of course, there's the other obstacles were like, what is my family going to think, what everybody's going to think about. But these are things for me were less important. It was just my own fear. And what I did was I didn't really tell anybody my plan, my escape plan, basically. I kept it secret until the end. I told only a few close friends, of course, but I wouldn't talk about it much, because I was afraid I would get people, telling me like that was not a good move, that was a crazy move, and I shouldn't do it. So I didn't want to have this
Influence.
yeah, so I just didn't say it to anybody. I just did it in secret. And then I just told people when it was already a fact. And I was like, I'm moving to Ibiza.
Wow, 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 wow. So how did you overcome that internal fear? Like,
I think,
do you have any tips?
yeah, I mean, for me, it was very important yoga and meditation. I think yoga, I was doing yoga very often. And I think when you stretch your body, you stretch your mind, and also when you quiet your mind, you really can listen to your heart, and then it becomes clear to you what really you want. So I think this is very important for everybody. I would give it as a tip, uh, just to take the time to be silent and to also stretch the body. It seems like different, but it's actually it's all connected, no? So and it makes you strong. And when your body is strong, your mind is strong, then you have more courage. And yeah, it's all about being brave. I think in this case, if you really want to do something, yeah, just you have to really do it.
Yeah. And another thing was that you didn't tell a lot of people, so you kept it like your
Yeah,
and within your inner circle, I
yeah.
guess.
I think because when you tell, it kind of loses power, especially if it's not well accepted by the others. Then you feel weakened. So to keep it strong, you just keep it inside until you're sure, and then you can go forward.
And I can also imagine that, like, for you, there was this thing on, okay, I have this very secure corporate life. I have a good salary. I'm traveling to Africa. I'm doing all these things. And later on, you started at T-Mobile, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was all, well, you had this proper, secure life. And then you were considering a life as a DJ and as a party organizer, which obviously was, well, not secure at all. And I can also imagine that you had to prepare or to think about that.
Yeah, that was, of course, the major obstacle. It's like when you are part of this corporate world, you they take care of you so well. It's like you have health insurance, you have your computer, you have I even had my phone. Everything was from. I didn't have to
Worry.
I didn't have to own anything. It was all from the company and paid by the company. And if it's broken, they replace it. And if I have to go to the doctor, they pay for everything. So it's the security is so big that they make it. It's not they make it, but it's really hard to get out of this situation because it's so comfortable. And it took that took a lot of work, like personal work, to get the courage to do it. And I felt like, okay, I need to have a plan before I move. And I did sort of have a little plan. So I did got an apartment in Amsterdam. So that way I could have a little income coming from renting this apartment. So I had a bit of a plan, but mostly the plan was having no plan. So,
Right.
so it's like, okay, I just came to live in Ibiza. I didn't even have a house or anything. I just stayed in the camping for the first month. But I was so happy and I felt so free. Had nothing, no house. I had a backpack only. And I have to say, those days were so liberating. After 12 years being in the corporate world, I would wake up and swim in the sea. And I was like, oh, this is worth it. Everything, all the
Every penny.
all the struggle that I had to overcome. But
Yeah.
but then I thought, okay, I think it was worth it. And what I learned and realized, because I read it in the books, but I think it's really true. It's when you take these brave steps, the universe kind of takes care of you. So I felt always like supported somehow. I got solutions to everything, and of course, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's less hard. But I always felt like I'm still here. It's been 8 years, and I'm still here, and it's getting better and better every time. It's just like it's insane.
So you were also reading a lot of books in that time. like
Yeah,
what kind of books?
I got into this because of the yoga and all this. I got into all these spirituality books, and I read a few books about courage and all this to kind of motivate me. And then I start to realize that this is it. I'm not the first one who did this. This is has been done since time immemorial. So I'm just going to try and see if it's really true what they say in the books. And I realize it is true. Actually, it is true. If you really have pure intention and you follow your heart, the universe will take care of you. It happened for me. I don't know if it's for everybody, but I think it's so.
Hey, and Felipe, you changed your last name to really underline and emphasize that switch. And it's actually the last name of your it's the maiden name of your grandmother's, right?
Yeah.
Can you please tell us the story behind it?
Well, the reason I changed the name because my official name is pretty hard for foreigners to pronounce.
Right.
So I was looking for another name. I thought only using my first name, Filipa, but then I was like, no, let's get the second name. And then this came immediately. Like, why don't I use my mother still has this name,
Right.
so it's my mother's maiden name also. So I was like, just gonna use this name. It's my mother's. My mother has it. My grandmother has it, and her aunt that came with her to Portugal also has it. And the story behind my grandmother is that she's from Angola. She was from Angola. Angola then was part of Portugal, was a colony. So she was Portuguese. But she was a second-class Portuguese because she was mixed race. So she was half black, half white. And so in her ID card, she had second-class citizen. And my grandfather was in the military, which is like back then was super conservative place to be. And he had to ask permission to the superiors to marry her because she was considered second-class citizen. But she indeed actually came to Portugal to study medicine. So she became a doctor, and this was like almost 100 years ago. So it was very rare back then.
Yes.
As a woman and as a mixed-race woman to become a doctor. So I always felt very inspired by the story by her story. So I thought this is perfect. I honor my female lineage, my African lineage, and it's also very easy to pronounce. So it's combined all that I needed. But,
Perfect.
Yeah.
And why next to the inspiration, why was it so important for you to honor that female lineage?
Well, this came also when, well, I think it always has been in me, but also when I started reading these books and I started to understand how the female traits have been kind of obscured during the last at least 2,000 years. And I started to feel the need to honor this female side of me. Even in myself, I was very like we said before, like I was a bit a Tommy boy, like always with the boys and doing the boys things. And at a certain time, I started to switch, and I thought, no, but this maybe is because of the society that is. I think I need to be like this to be successful because only men are successful. I thought, no. And then at a certain age, I started to switch, and I started to see how this actually is programmed in me and is not real. And I had to connect with my own female side. And through my grandmother and my mother and my grandmother, I I I I thought this is the best way to honor my female side is to get my grandmother's last name instead of uh,
Your father's.
yeah.
Wow, and integrating those feminine traits that you're talking about, and we talk a lot about it also in this podcast. Um, was it sort of done through taking her the name of your grandmother, or were there other processes going on inside of you that helped you to let's say balance your masculine and feminine side?
Yeah, it was more like uh, so when I was working for the corporate, it is a more masculine side, and then when I started to be more into the music and DJing, this was more of the creative feminine side. And so when I did the switch, I also switched. I started switching and started to much more listen to my intuition, for example. And now this we are doing the kind of community is also the cooperation. It's also the female side of instead of competition, we are trying now to create a new world where we cooperate and we listen to our intuition instead of our rational mind all the time. So it's integrating this. This has been happening, since I stopped the work in the corporate. It's clear for me that I'm much more onto the feminine side now.
And yeah, you're just referring to it. We're sitting here in the studio, but this is part of a community that you and your partner are building. I hope I pronounce it correct. Labyrinthia.
Labyrinthia.
Oh, you see. Oh my
Labyrinth,
God.
almost. It's not the easiest.
No, maybe we have to work on the name. But before we dive into your ideas on community and how you are planning to build this one, um, where does the name stand for, and what is the idea behind it?
So Labyrinthia, this comes because my partner, Mark, he has a bit of dyslexia, and the area we are in Ibiza, we wanted a local name, and this is where we are now. Is San Juan Labricha.
Ah, yeah.
That's the name of this area, and so Labricha, he could never say Labricha. He would always say Labyrinthia, and I would say it's not Labyrinthia, it's Labricha, but he was always referring to it as Labyrinthia, and then it became the name of what we are creating because it came by accident, let's say, but it was kind of also it also is reminds of a labyrinth, and we thought that's great because the labyrinth, it's not a maze, it's just a path, a meandering path. And it's like in the spiritual world, it's kind of a representation of your life journey. And so you go and you learn, and then it's the journey into yourself, and then the coming out into the world. So this is kind of, we also thought this is also very good for this place, that we want people to come here in a playful way, but also introspective way, and learn something and grow, and then go out into the world. So we thought, wow, Labyrinthian, it actually could work. And it's also as like this mystical flair, because we want to create mythical stories around Labyrinthia. Instead of being dogmatic, we want to be playful and have stories. The stories tell the kind of the I don't want to say rules, but you know, the intentions. come through the stories. So that's why we chose Labyrinthia, and then it stayed like that. It's not easy, but I think it works.
Well, and especially the story behind it
Yeah.
really sticks. So before we dive into the community, Filipa, I just want to give our listeners a bit of an idea what happened after the Ibiza camping and the community you're building now. Like, because you did really cool stuff.
Well, a lot of things happened.
Okay, in a nutshell.
Well, I'm, my DJ career, I have to say, went pretty well for such a late start, and I got booked to play in many places, including Burning Man, and then from Burning Man I got invited to play in Mexico, and then from Mexico I got invited to play in Tomorrowland. So I got like really a roller coaster in this DJ career that I was I'm thrilled about it, and also in Ibiza I got to live in. I got out of the camping and I got amazing house on top of the hill with amazing views, and there I had my studio, not like this one, but like a home studio. And I invited a lot of artists already, so to come through. Then I was single, but I had already, I called it the panorama room, and we did these little parties. It was a small house, so I couldn't have many people, but I had amazing artists, because the good thing of Ibiza is that you have all these artists passing through.
Yes.
So I was going to their shows and I was inviting them back home and do little events. And it was very, very rewarding. And this is kind of an extension of what I was already doing. But of course, this is much bigger place, campus, where I can really expand on my idea of having this artist residency.
Yeah, because when we talk about community, you always had your idea of starting this artist residency, and now there are also people that live here permanently, and the idea is that more artists will come. Like, can you share a bit on, well, the ideas for the future of this amazing place?
Yeah, so my idea was always, I since I've been DJing and producing music, I realized that I'm much more creative when I'm surrounded by other creative people around. So that's why I always had the desire of creating a place where other artists could come and do their own thing. And like that, I think in a group, we inspire each other. So that was the reason behind my desire. And so this started to happen already, as I told you, in my last house. Then I met my partner. He has a cave, where there's events happening.
Yeah.
Or there were before we were in this situation. And so a lot of artists always passed here because of the location. And so it started to one artist attract another artist, and it started to go the message, and now people are coming and co-creating. Things happen here, like, because one artist, a musician, was here. He met a music producer. they met because they met here, because they were both staying here last summer. And then they made a track together that now you can actually buy. It's already released.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like this magic of having a place where people come and things happen because they are here. If they would not be in here, this would never happen. So this is the beauty of this place, and this is what we want to expand on. And of course, there's many other layers because it's not only music. Music is our main thing, but we want to do talks. It's all about the regenerative farming and also changing our systems and having all these philosophers and interesting people with solutions that to come here and integrate all this in the community. So it's not only music, but it's farming, it's health, lifestyle, conscious, basically.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, well, I've been here now for a few weeks, and it's really a magical place, and it's really already very inspiring. And what I was wondering, I mean, you're surrounded basically all the time with other people. So I was also curious about how is that for you and your partner, and how do you remain connected to yourself? Because, like you said, it's so important also to have that quiet time and sometimes be alone.
Yeah, I have to say, it is challenging. It's not easy. It's not easy path, and probably not for everybody. But we are lucky enough. We have a very big place, as you know, with different. There's always a different place where you can go and be alone
and hide.
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 houses, 3 houses. We have the roof terrace. There's different chill out areas. Even inside now, we made 2 living rooms, so we don't need to be always together. If somebody wants to be in one living room or in another living room, so in the summer is easier because everybody's outside, and outside is, there's many places. In the winter, also we have much less people, so it becomes easier because we also, the important thing is to, I don't want to say, but select the people. I mean, it has to be the right people, of course, if you're going to live together. And we are very lucky. We have very good people, and we all support each other. And we also know when we need space. And, we all also very individual people. So it's not like we are not always together. So sometimes we have dinner all together. Other times we don't. It depends. And it all flows. And as long as it's flowing, it's okay. And if there's issues, then, you need to address them.
Right. So now we touch upon a little bit of the, let's say, your ideas or rules when you want to build a community. So you mentioned already, like, okay, so you need to be kind of selective on who you invite or with whom you live. How do you decide on, okay, you're someone I can spend my life with? Is that value based, or is it just a feeling? Or
yeah, this comes back to that intuition thing again. It's a lot of intuition.
Yeah,
and it's all about gut feeling.
Yeah.
Normally, I can tell immediately or almost. The people we have here all come recommended, basically.
Right.
It's not like we are getting random people from anywhere. It's all
maybe now you will, but not.
Yeah, spontaneous applications. Yeah. We are happy. We are actually gonna do, because we are just in the beginning, but one of our plans is to have an application form.
Right.
So we will make specific questions. Why do you want to live here? What is your contribution, etc., whatever. And through the answers, it's also you can already see if this is a like-minded person or not really. Or and then of course the feeling when you are together, because reading is one thing, but then there's this chemistry that we all have between us, and you can basically tell. But the idea here is not to have, as we said before, not to have permanent members, all permanent members. It's to have like artists that come, spend time, be creative. They want to come here to be immersed in nature, to have yoga class, to have the amazing food, vegan food, and to be super healthy, and then come in the studio, or if it's a painter, go in painting in the treehouse, or if it's a
writer.
It's like we want to have the creative space so artists can come and work in projects and then go and then return when they want to do another project.
Yeah.
So this is more the spirit of this community. It's not like other communities where the idea is they're going to live together all the time.
Right. And Filipa, are there any, like, what have you learned so far? Like, what are next to the fact that you select the people carefully, are there any other things that you have learned, insights, if you want to do something like this?
Yeah, it's understanding the boundaries. So, and also you have to be very clear also with when people want to join, be clear and what do you expect from them. And this is all participatory here, so everybody has to do stuff. It's not just like, oh, I live here and then I go do my thing. No, it's everybody working together to make this a better place, and everybody has to add value.
Right.
And just be very clear. This is what we expect, and if people are willing, then I think it's good. And if it's not working anymore, you also have to be brave enough to come front and say it's not working.
Right.
So far, we didn't have to do that, so I'm really happy. It's all flowing because we also not we're not running. We're just going step by step, and we are still learning. So it's difficult to say still.
Yeah, and have you gained any insight, or did you make a typical mistake in that you're of which you learned, okay, for the next year we're not gonna do that anymore, or is it or that didn't happen?
Well, yeah, there's always mistakes, and I think it's.
I mean, I can, for instance, imagine that also for your relationship, it can be challenging sometimes.
Yes, it can, and it's not easy, but Mark, my partner, is very social, and he loves the community and having people around. For him, people around all the time is great. He loves to entertain. It's his thing.
And to talk.
And to talk. And to talk and to entertain people, have people over for dinner and for parties and for whatever. And I also love that, but I need much more my space. I'm much more, I need to be in my space in order to, otherwise I lose myself and I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Right.
So, but I make sure we have time for us. So I have to demand, and sometimes I'm like, look, we need the space, and that's why we created the 2 living rooms also, so we can have also
some private time together,
and not in our house basically.
Right.
But I mean, here there's a lot of space.
Right.
And we also travel, well, not now, but usually we travel quite a bit. So we go alone somewhere. So it's a balance, like everything.
Yes, like that the well-known balance that is so hard.
It's so hard.
Hey, and just for when you look at the future and I hear more and more people speaking about communities, like living together or at least sharing temporary a house or something. So I was wondering, how do you look at communities, and do you have the feeling it's the thing for the future, or
Yeah, it's definitely a movement, and it's happening, and
right?
it's growing,
Yeah.
and even and our goal here as a community is connect with other people, but also connect with other communities. So Labyrinthia, as the labyrinth, is also inspired by the mycelium network, the mushrooms mycelium network, and this is to connect to other communities. And I mean, we are facing this global crisis now. We cannot. It's not. You can't deny anymore. It's weather. It's economic. It's the system. Everything. So all these people are coming together and putting up solutions for the problems we face, basically. And they are, instead of fighting the current system, I think the best way to do it is just to create something new. So this is what we are trying to do here. We are trying to not ourselves create something new, but connect with other people and try to all together create something new, because together we are stronger. So this is the idea. And also, of course, the farm and being able to have your own food. It's so important right now. We never know what's happening, and now with all the situation in the world. So to be self-sufficient, at least in some things, of course, you cannot be totally self-sufficient, but if you can, if you imagined Ibiza as an island back in the days, they had to be self-sufficient. So the islanders have a lot of knowledge of how to do everything, basically.
Yes.
And this is what we're trying to do now. So this is our next step. We're gonna find the knowledge of this island and bring it back. And it's like communities are a thing of the future, yes, but they are also a thing of the past. So it's kind of bring the past into the future, and I think that's the way. Of course, with the new technologies and everything, I'm not anti-technology, but the knowledge of the past has been lost a lot, and this is what we're trying to bring back. And apply it, and make a better future for everybody. Because how is it going right now? It's not going very well. So
No, and are you still, let's say, in touch or connected to what's happening in the world, or are you more or less focused on what is happening here?
no, we are. I mean, I am very much aware of what's happening. I try to stay informed. I think it's important. I don't. I try not to get influenced by it or depressed or whatever. But I keep myself informed. I know what's happening, and I also look for people who have these alternative solutions. And luckily here in Ibiza, there's a lot of people working on the same thing. So we have other communities. We call ourselves lighthouses. So there's a lot of other lighthouses in Ibiza that we are connected to, and a lot of good things are coming. I think talks and meetings and people of the land and helping with because we are not farmers, no, we want to do it, but we don't know. So we need help. So we connect with other people who actually are very good at that. So they're going to help us with that. And then we can help with the music, and others will help with other things. And I feel it's really a movement, and it's happening, and it's strong. And I'm very enthusiastic about the future. I think it's going to be brilliant.
Do you have time for your music?
Well,
Because it seems like you're doing so much.
not at the moment.
Work.
To be honest, I'm totally not at the moment, because I'm so busy preparing this community artist residency. We are working on the deck, and all brand identity. All this work needs to be done, and we have a very small team, which are basically only us in here in the house, and some other friends that are in other countries. But so I've been a bit neglecting it, but also because there is no events at the moment, so it's difficult to keep yourself motivated when you cannot really play. But I feel that the time is coming that this will be more rolling, and I could then go do what I really want to do, and why I created all this.
Yeah, exactly.
And hopefully soon, if all goes well, in April, there will be events again. Not here, but in here maybe also. But we are planning something for Mexico. So if this, I'm sure if this is, I'm already feeling more motivated. As soon as there's something, then I go back into it.
Right. Okay, Filipa. My final question for our listeners. Let's say your top recommendation for them as female leaders or future female leaders. What would you like to say to them?
Well, it's a bit of a cliche, but I think it's so true, and it's follow your heart. It's the only way, basically. And to follow your heart, as I said before, you to listen to your heart, to be able to really know what is your heart telling you. You need to quiet the mind. So that's again back to the silence. And in this, when you get into this practice, you can really know what is it that you want to do. And this is what we need. What we need is people that follow their passion, and they do what they love, and they love what they do.
Thank you so much, Filipa, for this super inspiring, really amazing story, and also thanking you so much for creating this amazing space together with Mark and all the people here. If you've also enjoyed this amazing story, please share a print screen of the podcast. And does Labyrinthia has Instagram already?
No, we don't have.
But you have, right?
I have one.
Yeah. So what's your Instagram handle?
It's Filipa Lazari.
So you tag Filipa and you tag New Female Leaders, and then we can share your love with our communities as well. Thank you so much, Filipa, and thank you for listening. Would you like to once again be inspired by a new female leader? Subscribe now and share your review so that even more women like you are able to find our podcast. Any ideas, opinions, or experiences in this field? Send an email to info@newfemaleleaders.org. We love to hear from you. Thank you for listening.